This day, we will be focusing our discussion on the school as a social system. Last meeting, we discussed the theoretical foundation of the system and the public administration. And as what the discussants stressed to us, these theories cannot be set aside since these form of what we have now in our new educational system. The topic on the school as a social system in our course will be divided into four subtopics to be presented later or on the succeeding online class that we will have. I will be presenting the introduction on knowing what is a social system. I am Priscilla Ugarte Halago, a second year PH Educational Management. I graduated B.Ed General Science year 2004 at MSU and finished my MSc major in General Science year 2020 at the same school. I am in the department for 16 years now. I am a teacher of Francisco Oring the Senior Elementary School here in General Santos City. I am handling grade 5 with ancillary tasks as instructional leader, LAC team leader, school science coordinator, school information officer, school alternative delivery mode coordinator, district LR coordinator, and currently a division writer of the session guides for psychological values formation intervention. Again, I am the first reporter on the group 2. Our topic will be centered on what is the social system. But before we are going to proceed to our lesson, we'll first put ourselves in the presence of our Almighty God for an opening prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us another life. We thank you for another beautiful morning as we go on through our lessons today. May you make us instruments to do some good things, and please enlighten our minds, give us the strength to participate in our subject today. Thank you for this opportunity to learn and serve others. This is our prayer in your mighty name, O God. Thank you so much. Now let's move on. In this session, we will discuss the basic concepts of the school as a social system and its impact. We will also define social system. Learning this topic will also realize the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, also known as Partnership for Goals, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. The Sustainable Development number 17 refers to the need for cross-sector and cross-country collaboration in pursuit of all the goals by year 2030. It seeks to promote international trade and help developing countries increase their exports to ensure a universal rules-based and equitable trading system that is fair, open, and beneficial to all. So before attaining maximum participation from cross-country, we need to develop first the collaboration within our locality and our community. I will be presenting this picture. You can give an idea of what this picture is all about. Okay, this is an example of a one-room schoolhouse. One-room schools were commonplace throughout rural portions of various countries, including Prussia, Norway, Sweden, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, Ireland, and Spain. In most rural and small town schools, all of the students met in a single room. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, most American students attended a one-room schoolhouse. The youngest children sat in the front, while the oldest students sat in the back. The teacher usually taught reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and geography. Students memorized and recited their lessons, and there a single teacher taught academic basics to several grade levels of elementary grade children. So now we call this as multi-grade education. Now, are there any one-room schoolhouses left? America's one-room schools still exist in America, although they've dwindled from 190,000 in 1919 to fewer than 400 today. We included this one-room school in our lesson that it is important that there is administrator. It is important that we have administration in the school. I haven't heard of a public school being closed. Why? Because there are managers to see to it that its operation will not be hampered. But I heard of many private schools closed before of some encountered problems. How will they operate in a limited financial source? Merely this might be the reason why one room school closed. The teachers here in one room school are mostly residents of their place, but those teachers also wanted greener pasture. However, if the community will help in running the one room houses just like those room houses that are still existing nowadays, maybe they can still accommodate learners. The collaboration of the major social institution is very vital. The family, education, religion, economic institutions, and government as a social institutions, though differ in their goal, can contribute in attaining the vision and mission of the Department of Education. Social institutions, like the five here, is what constitute the patterned network of relationship, the social system. Contributory factor for the social system may be brought by the different theories, such as functionalism. Structural functionalism, or simply functionalism, is a framework for building theory that sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. Thus, the social parts, the major and the secondary institution, can help attain the function in the socialization, the means by which social and cultural community are attained. Social integration, or the coming together based on individual acceptance of the members of the other groups. Social placement, or placing people in higher or lower social classes based on education level they have completed. And social and cultural innovation are new social practices that aim to meet social needs in a better way than the existing solutions, resulting from, for example, working conditions, education, community development, or health. There are many sociologists who popularize functionalism. A common analogy popularized by Herbert Spencer presents these parts of society as organs that work together, the proper functioning of the body as a whole. In the most basic terms, it simply emphasizes the effort to impute as rigorously as possible to each feature, custom, or practices. Its effect on the functioning of a supposedly stable, cohesive system. For Talcott Parsons, structural functionalism came to describe a particular stage in the methodological development of social science rather than a specific school of thought. And what also brought the social system is the conflict theory. Karl Marx proposed this theory. Schools differ widely in their funding and learning conditions, and this type of inequality leads to learning disparities that reinforce social inequality. For example, a conflict theory describes the relationship between employers and employees as one of conflict, in which the employers wish to pay as little as possible for the employees' labor, while the employees wish to maximize their wages. Now, in education, conflict theory sees the purpose of education as maintaining social inequality and preserving the power of those who dominate society. According to conflict theories, schools train those in the working classes to accept their position as a lower class member of society. The basic premise of conflict theory is that individuals and groups in society struggle to maximize their share of the limited resources that exist and are desired by humans. Given that there are limited resources, the struggle inevitably leads to conflict and competition. That is why, in what we are encountering now, We tap stakeholders in order to provide us resources that cannot be sufficed by the monthly maintenance and other operating expenses or MOOE. Another contributory factor in the formation of a social system is the symbolic interactionism. This perspective focuses on social interaction in the classroom, on the playground, and in other social school venues. Specific research finds that social interaction in schools affects the development of gender roles and that the teacher's expectations of pupils' intellectual abilities affect how much group pupils learn. Certain educational problems have their basis in school interactions and expectations. Symbolic interactionism is a theoretical approach to understanding the relationship between humans and society. The basic notion of symbolic interactionism is that human action and interaction are understandable only through the exchange of meaningful communication or symbols. Mindanao State University is an organization, a social institution that prepares individuals. Basically, we know the main goal of MSU, and this is to equip and produce graduate students with advanced skills and competencies that can spur and sustain leadership and innovation, scientific and technological growth, entrepreneurship, good governance, inclusive economic development, and environmental security, independent international relations, articulation of Filipino culture and art, cultural and religious diversity and nationalism, integrating the university's unique mission of promoting harmony between Muslims, IPs, and non-IPs. Like MSU, social institution is characterized by interdependence of parts, clearly defines population differentiation from its environment, and a complex network of social relationships and its culture. And to be able to understand this, we need to appreciate the system theories discussed by the previous group. This theory is what formed the social system, namely the rational system, natural system, and open system. This was the report of the previous group. We will see how the system improved from that with the help of workers as a machine through specialization to achieve the goals. Although this rational system of formal education organization is helpful since you need to focus on your task to the direction of the organization. There is restricting attention to the parts of an organization and believing that optimizing each part amounts to maximizing the whole is short-sighted because it neglects the primary as a whole, as well as the environment, forces artificial distinctions, and denies the systemic functioning of the organization. In the natural system, we have now learned how each emotion and human needs is necessary for the development, necessary for the best output. In the natural system, we can relate this to Hawthorne's studies in his three experiments conducted to study the relation of quality and quantity of illumination to efficiency in industry. In his first illumination experiment, it was made in three departments. The level of illumination intensify in each department was increased at stated intervals. The results were puzzling because the increased production rates did not correspond with increased lighting, nor did the production decline with reduced illumination. Now, in the second experiment of Hawthorne's, a test group in which illumination intensifies were varied was compared to a control group with illumination held constant. Both groups showed increases in production rates that were not only substantial but also nearly identical. And finally, in his third experiment, when the lighting of the test group was decreased and that the control group held constant, the efficiency of both groups increased. Furthermore, the production rates increased in the test until the light became so poor that the workers complained they could no longer see what they were doing. Here, two conclusions seem justified. Employee output was not primarily related to lighting conditions, and too many variables had not been controlled in the experiments. The startling nature of findings stimulated more research. The early systems, the rational and natural perspective, were closed systems, but they have given way to open systems views. Virtually everyone now agrees that organizations are open systems. Some view them as basically rational, while others view them as natural. A synthesis and integration, however, is possible. Thus, in this text, we view schools as open systems with both formal, rational elements as well as the informal or the natural ones. At a general level, the organizations are easily pictured as open systems. Organizations take inputs from the environment, transform them, and produce outputs. For example, schools are social systems that take resources such as labor, students, and money from the environment and subject these inputs to an educational formation process to produce literate and educated students and graduates as the output. Thus far in our discussion of systems, we have made several implicit or implied assumptions. Let us now make this and others explicit as we examine the school as a social system. Social systems are open systems. Schools are affected by state mandates, by politics, and by history, and a host of other environmental forces. Just what we are experiencing in this pandemic, the mandates on when to open, when to have face-to-face class is based on the approval from the government recommended by the IATF or Interagency Task Force. And aside from this, DepEd has more than 800 teachers. This force is used in order to produce Board of Election Inspectors. Though there is honorarium, other teachers are not serving. Reasons like they are related to the running candidates, the tiring processes, as well as the risky tasks a teacher can experience are what caused them not to serve. Although it cannot be felt, this pulling out of teachers might affect the operation of the school. Since the school premises will be used, teachers' time will be devoted to their extra tasks, and some teachers also from risky places also risk their lives. Social systems consist of interdependent parts, characteristics, and activities that contribute to and receive from the whole. For instance, when the principal is confronted by parental demands for new courses in colleges, not only is the principal affected directly, but also the teachers and students are also affected. Similarly, when the principal is bombarded with critics and feedbacks from the Office of the Department of Education, the effect is also felt by teachers and pupils too. Number three, social systems are people. Teachers act on basis of their needs, beliefs, and goals or motivations as well as their roles. Thus, school is effective because of the abilities of teachers. In contrast, the teachers may also have negative effect to school operation in its bad actions. Number four, social systems are goal-oriented. Student learning and control are just two of many goals of the school, but the central goal of any school system is the preparation of its students for adult roles. In do you know what is the depth admission? The depth admission is to protect and promote the rights of every Filipino to quality, equitable, cultural based, and complete basic education where students learn in a child-friendly, gender-sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. Teachers facilitate learning and constantly nurture every learner. That is why in recognizing stakeholders, though giving of certificates, we sometimes include in the concluding part in acknowledgement of your contribution to the school and community in realizing DepEd mission and vision. Number five is social systems are structural. School systems have division of labor. For example, we have math and science teachers specialization like we have teachers group, the guidance counselor and administrator, and the hierarchy, for example, superintendent, principal, assistant principals, and teachers. But in other administrator, they are observing teachers in their capacity. Maybe they feel that what you have learned in your course is not the ground in learning other tasks. And for other administrator, the length of service also matters because as what they said, experience is the best teacher. If ever you are longer in the service, then it also implies that you also learned a lot from what you have experienced. Now, number six is social systems are normative. Schools have formal rules and regulations as well as informal norms that prescribe appropriate behavior. This item is included in the school improvement plan or your SIP. A school needs to have the school policy. There is a general policy crafted by the Department of Education, yet we tend to make our own since it cannot be aligned in our locality. Even by crafting our policy, we need to consider the community. Number seven, social systems are sanction bearing. Schools have formal mechanisms such as expulsion, suspension, termination, tenure, and promotion, as well as informal sanctions that include the use of sarcasm, ostracism, or exclusion and ridicule. In school, we organize committees in this mechanism. For learners, we organize the School Council for the Protection of Children. For parents, we have Parents Teachers Association. And we also have Grievance Committee and many more. Number eight, social systems are political. Schools have power relations that inevitably affect administrator and teacher activities, especially when the school site is donated by somebody with power. When you impose or follow some regulations like no politicians during school events, the school will really be tested. That is why it is a must to set clear understanding of the rules and policy of the school and the Department of Education. Number nine, social systems have distinctive cultures. Schools have a dominant set of shared values that influence behavior. This might or might not help. Yet, if we know how to manage to unite these differentiated cultures that we have, this can be the reason for success. Number 10, social systems are conceptual and relative. For one purpose, a classroom can be considered a social system. But for other purposes, the school or system may be viewed as a social system. Meaning to say, they are related. What stakeholders offer in every classroom or own classroom, it is still account to the whole school. Like during the Brigada Escuela implementation, in accounting every donations from stakeholders, those coming from every classroom, is also accounted for the total donations received by the school. In studying these assumptions, we can grasp that system is there. System is orderly arrangement and interrelationship of parts. In the arrangement, every part has a fixed place and a definite role to play. The parts are bound by interaction. For example, the human body. If something will affect your heart or the circulatory system, other parts will also be affected. This is the same manner when something happens in your brain. The social system is the idea of Talcott Parsons. Talcott Parsons is an American sociologist and scholar. He theorized social action and structural functionalism. Parsons sees motives as part of our actions. Therefore, he thought that social science must consider ends, purposes, and ideals when looking at actions. As a structural theory, functionalism sees social structure or the organization of society as more important than the individual. Talcott Parsons viewed society as a system. He argued that any social system has four basic functional prerequisites. Number one, the adaptation. Then we have goal attainment, integration, and the pattern maintenance. To sum it up, the definition of social system is it is an orderly arrangement of parts having fixed place and role to play, and parts are bound by interaction. It signifies patterns relationship among constituents parts of structure based on functional relation. Society is a system consisting of mutual interaction and interrelationship of individuals and of structure formed by their relations. An arrangement of social interactions based on shared norms and values. And in the process, one influences others and groups are formed. All are bound by oneness, and the pattern that comes into existence is social system. Lunenburg defined social system as a system involving human beings that influenced by norms and sources in the community through politics and history. Waller also believed that the school is a system of social interaction. It is an organized whole comprising interacting personalities bound together in other organic relationship. Here are the characteristics of social system. Number one, system is connected with the plurality of individual actors. Different parts of a system are united to each other on the basis of functional relationship. It is a fact that social system is an arrangement of interdependent and interactive parts. Number two, a social system is evolved in the its aims and objectives or their goals. Number three, order and pattern amongst various constituent units. Number four, functional relationship is the basis of unity. A social system implies order among the interacting units of the system. Social system is a state of condition where the various parts are arranged in an integrated manner. Physical or environmental aspect of social system. Then we have link with cultural system. Culture determines the nature and scope of interrelations and interactions of members of the society. It also maintains a balanced and harmonious relationship among different parts and reduces conflicts among the various parts. Therefore, social system is closely related with cultural system. Next is adjustment. And the last is social system is related to a particular age, a definite territory, and a particular society. Social system is not the same in all ages. Social system changes with change in times. It is dynamic, not static. A change in social system does not mean that their social equilibrium is lost. In spite of social changes, social system continues to exist. We have elements of social system. Number one, belief and knowledge. Any proposition about any aspect of the universe that is accepted as true may be called a belief. According to D. Kretsch and R. S. Crutchfield, a belief is an enduring organization of perception and cognitions about some aspect of individual's world. A belief may be true or false. It may be verifiable or not, but the people who hold it consider it to be true. Belief furnishes the cognitive basis for social action. The significance of belief is not determined by the objective truth or falsity of the belief. The belief that there is no God will make the social relationships of people different from the relations of those who believed in God. The belief that capitalism is bound to decay may make people optimistic. We find a number of beliefs held by the primitive people. Even today, the people hold number of beliefs. Number two is sentiment. Sentiments represent what we feel about the world. Sentiment is the chief element articulated in the internal pattern of social system. The sentiments, as expressed in the internal pattern, result from both externally patterned and internally patterned social interaction. The sentiments of the external pattern are those which members bring from outside. Sentiments are acquired. They are the product of experience and cultural conditioning about our cultural values and social goals influence and control our sentiments. The sentiments of love, hatred, benevolence, charity, nationalism, internal nationalism, and etc. are created by our cultural conditioning. The sentiments may be of various kinds, such as intellectual, ethical, aesthetic, religious, and more. Social system has end goals and objectives. The end goal or objective creates a social system. The members of social system expect to accomplish a particular end or objective through appropriate interactionist action. Had there been no human needs, goals, or ends, there would be no society. The human needs, goals, and ends determine the nature of social system. Next is Next element are the norms. Norms are the standards for determining what is right and wrong, appropriate and inappropriate, just and unjust, good and bad in social relationships. Every social system is possessed of its norms, which the individuals are obliged to observe. Some norms are general and may not be violated by anyone. Others apply only to particular individuals and status roles within the system. Particular norms may be especially crucial for special social systems. The norm of efficiency is of great importance in the economic system. The norm of fair play is important in athletic activity. The concept of social system implies order. Hence, a major criterion for delineating a social system is simply the existence of consensus with respect to the appropriate ways of behavior. Number five, we have the status and role. Status is the position which an individual has in society. In a social system, each individual has a status. The place in a particular system which a certain individual occupies at a particular time in his status with reference to that system. The element of status is found in every social system. In the family, there are statuses of father, mother, son, daughter, and etc. Likewise, there are statuses in a club, school, union, or factory. The status of an individual may be ascribed or achieved. The ascribed status is one which an individual gets at his birth. It is confirmed to him by his group or society. It may be based on the sex, age, or color. The achieved status is one which an individual achieves by his efforts. A man born in a low caste may, by his efforts, become the prime minister and achieve thereby a high status. There are some functions attached to each status which are called roles. In a social system, the individuals are expected to perform their roles in accordance with their statuses. There is a role fixed for each status. The individuals may change, but statuses remain unchanged. An individual acting as principal may die. His place is taken by another individual. The educational system continues to work. Number six is ranks. Rank as used here is equivalent to standing. It includes the importance of an individual has for the system, and which the rank is accorded. It is determined by the evaluation placed upon an individual and his acts in accordance with the norms and standards of the system. A political leader enjoy higher rank than a teacher in modern society, whereas in ancient times the teacher enjoyed higher rank than that of even the king. Number seven is power. Power refers to the capacity to control others. There may take place any conflict among the different parts of the social system. Such conflict is harmful for the social system. Thus, there may arise a dispute between the students and teachers, which is harmful for the efficiency of the institution. There should exist some power with the capacity to control both the teachers and students, and such power is vested in the principal. Thus, each social system gives power to some individual or body of individuals to remove tension from amongst the system. In this state, the ruler is the family. The, the ruler in the family is the father. In the union, the president has such power. This power always resides in the status role and not in the individual as such. It is the authority of the office. Thus, the authority of the principal, father, president, policeman, resides in a particular office. As soon as the individual ceases to hold the office, he no longer exercises the authority of that office. An ex-principal cannot direct the students, an unconfront priest cannot deliver the sacraments, an ex-president cannot call the parliament. Authority therefore implies some degree of institutionalization. Number eight is sanction. Sanction refers to the rewards and penalties given out by the members of the social system as a device for inducing conformity to its norms and ends. Sanctions can be positive or negative. The positive sanctions are the rewards, which may include wages, profits, interest, esteem, praise, privileges, etc. The negative sanctions are the penalties and punishments. And the last is facility. A facility has been defined as a means used to attain ends within the system. It is necessary that the individuals in a social system should be provided with adequate facilities to enable them to perform their roles efficiently. Facilities should not only exist but should also be utilized. Mere existence of facility is of no use unless this can be utilized. The ends, goals, or objectives on a social system can be realized only through the utilization of facilities. The utilization of facilities highlights systemic ends, beliefs, and norms that might otherwise remain obscure. To put it in other way, a society reveals its ends, beliefs, and norms by its failure to utilize certain available facilities. Lastly, I want you to grasp this quote that it takes a village to raise a child. This quote is an African proverb that means that an entire community of people must provide for the interact positively with children for those children to experience and grow in a safe and healthy environment. It is a wrap around inputs of people in institutions of learning, government, religion, media, and community, which a child encounters and learns from while growing up. These wraparound inputs communicate culture and instill behaviors and expectations in a child. They provide feelings of safety and security. The goals are to allow each child to think and feel, I belong here.